Okay, good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the City Council special meeting of Tuesday, June 18th. Call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make public comment? Even in the back row? No. Anyone on Zoom that would like to make public comment, if you would raise your hand, please. Okay, thank you. So we will go ahead and go to our first resolution today, which is resolution 2410 for the purpose of repealing 2323 and establishing water, wastewater and storm drain utility rates. Welcome, Tim.
Mayor Knapp, members of the council, I'm Tim Collier, the finance director. The resolution before you is coming back to you after the May 14th meeting. You asked staff to adjust scenario 2A to keep the base rates the same and adjust the excess volume rate. And the resolution with those adjustments is attached to this report. We also have two members from FCS group on the Zoom if you have any questions.
Okay, I just have one question. So the 20%, the 20% raises that are, in years from now, a couple of years from now, and then it lowers back down to 3%. But the reason for not adjusting the whole thing to about 11%, which would be the average, is because of needing the money at that particular time for the project.
That is my understanding. But yes, that is my understanding for the rates this time. So that's why for the loan repayment schedule, et cetera.
Okay. I just want to make absolutely sure that that's true.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay.
Understanding, yep.
Any other questions?
The water service charges, page 1, exhibit A. That shows all the adjustments. That's our adjusted 2A.
Correct.
Um,
So it's keeping the base rate the same as it is in the current year and adjusting the cubic rate lower than it was presented in May.
and is it lower than 2A?
Yes, it is the 2A, I believe, was like 52% increase and this is a 42% increase.
Okay, I tried to compare the two and I may not have been looking at the correct 2A, but it seemed like they were even more. I don't know, I can't compare them side by side here without a little bit more work. Do you have it's a page 31 of the packet? Can you get that?
On Zoom, you want me to screen share it?
Yes.
Please.
Give me a moment here.
Sorry to throw that at you.
Are there any other questions while we're waiting?
Maybe someone else could pull it up and
At least we'll have the hard copies. Okay.
Except for there are no page numbers after,
yeah, I don't have
there is no 31.
21.
Oh, it's 21 of mine.
yeah, it's 31 in the packet, but I'm not sure. I mean, it's
Here's,
original.
this is page 21. Yeah, rate schedule. Exhibit 2-1, scenario 2A. You wanted to see? You wanted to see
Yes.
scenario 2A?
What page, Gary?
We're adjusting the fiscal year 2025.
2025.
21 of your packet. The packet you provided us. Your page numbers, not the one on the,
So we adjusted the 3/4 rate up to 31.57 from that 30.80. 1 inch, then increases from 77 to 78.95.
When the FCS report here, originally, they did not adjust for where we had made the increases back in January. So the rate that we have, the base rate that is presented right here is the current base rate that all the customers are paying at this time. So there is no change, the base rate, there is no change from 23-24 to 24-25 on the base rate.
For anybody.
And this,
Or anybody, all the base rates are the same. So you pay, if the 3/4 inch is paying 31.57 currently, you pay 31.57 and 25. The way this,
Okay, I guess I was expecting if we raised the base rate on the 3/4.
We didn't raise it. We just didn't change it.
Mhm.
Before we had lowered it.
We raised it in this formula.
We had lowered it in the last one.
Mhm.
They first, when they gave us the numbers last time, they'd lowered the base rate for the 3/4 inch pipe. And we asked for them to bring it back to the,
Totally understand. So the idea behind that is
So-
that that would lower the base rate for some of these other categories was your
No.
argument.
no,
Volume charge, I believe.
or the volume charge.
Was,
Volume charge was huge without, if our base rate, if the base rate for the 3/4 inch pipe was lowered, then the volume charge for, the businesses that use more volume was too much. And that's what we said.
Okay, so
it lowers, so the base rate or the volume charge on this original 2A was 12.07. It's now 11.27. So
So-
80 cents.
we adjusted the volume rate.
Yeah.
And that changed these numbers for the base rate to be increased for all of them.
Yeah, so the base rate, again, we keep the base rate the same as it is currently. And then we adjust the charge, but just the volume charge does not increase at the same rate.
I got it. Thank you. Just in my brain, I'm
Mhm.
expecting all those base rates to go down. If we were raising the 3/4 back up to the,
Mhm.
but I understand the formula.
Any
That's my only question.
other questions?
To approve resolution number 2410 for the purpose of repealing resolution 2323 and establishing water, wastewater, and storm drain utility rates.
Second?
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Silver,
Yes.
Counselor President McCarthy,
yes,
Counselor Hayes,
Yes?
Counselor Kerr,
Yep.
and Mayor Knopf.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have resolution 2412 for the purpose of approving increases and decreases to the fiscal year 2023-24 budget by making an interfund transfer of appropriations for the City Hall and Police Station project.
Thank you. I will carry this one also. So what we have, you made an adjustment in April to the building fund where we are paying for the police department and City Hall. And the original intention was that we would have sold the bonds in May. And then this actual resolution would have been to recognize those bond funds. However, projects still continued, so we're spending general fund. So in order to have the appropriate appropriation, we're taking the remainder of the contingency in the current year. This will then be, when we do get an issue in the 24-25, then the general fund would be reimbursed at that time.
Any questions?
is there any time that it may not be reimbursed? Is there any scenario where it may not be reimbursed?
The one scenario that it would not be reimbursed is if we were unable at any given time to be able to not issue bonds with regards to the projects. So that would be the one time.
And if it was taken to a vote and it was defeated, that would be one of those.
That would be one of those, correct. And this really isn't an appropriations change that we need to make. Basically, the project has continued, so.
Any other questions?
Move to approve resolution 2412 for the purpose of approving increases and decreases to the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget, making an intra-fund transfer of appropriations for the city hall and police station project.
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Sherry.
Counselor Hayes,
Yes.
Counselor,
Yes.
Excuse me.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Council President McCarthy,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Don't go anywhere.
Oh, wait, it's me again.
Okay, next we have resolution 2413 for the purpose of declaring the city's election to receive state revenues for fiscal year 24-25. At this time pursuant to ORS 221.770, I will open the public hearing in order to give the citizens of Cannon Beach the opportunity to comment on the use of state revenue sharing funds in the city of Cannon Beach's budget for fiscal year 2024-2025. Staff, please present your report.
Okay, this is a annual resolution that we must do per state ordinance, and what the council states is what these funds will be used for. There are 4 types of funds: highway funds, liquor tax, cigarette tax, and marijuana tax revenues. Highway funds, of course, are very restricted to road-related projects. This budget includes street lighting maintenance and street paving. And then the liquor tax, cigarette tax, and marijuana taxes are put into the general government for general government purposes with no restrictions.
Is there any member of the public wishing to comment on the proposed use of state revenue sharing for fiscal year 2024-25? Nobody in the audience? Anyone on Zoom?
Nobody on Zoom.
I am absolutely offended. I think.
This is an exciting one.
Percentage of that total about,
Let me close the public hearing. first.
oh, sorry.
If there's no further discussion, I will close the public hearing at this time.
Okay.
Lisa?
About what percentage? I know you can't tell us exactly, but
Oh, boy, off the top of my head, we're at like, so where are we at for revenues? Roughly, as a percentage, it would be very small percentage. So it's 200 and. There we go.
goes the city, you mean?
What's of,
The general fund?
oh, to the general fund, of the general fund, that is the, where's it? Oops, I just put it
Big bulk of it is in the road fund.
What's that? Yeah, so the big one goes into the road fund, and then, yes, so of the total funds, the general fund receives the percentage that would be about, what is that, 40% roughly of these funds?
Oh,
So the road fund would be 60, a little over 60%.
Any other questions?
I move to approve resolution number 2413 for the purpose of declaring the city's election to receive state revenues for fiscal year 24-25.
Second?
Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Sherry.
Councilor President McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Hayes.
Yes.
Counselor Kerr,
yes.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next, we have resolution 2414. At this time pursuant to ORS 294.453, I will open the public hearing in order to give the citizens of Cannon Beach the opportunity to comment on the budget approved by the City of Cannon Beach Budget Committee for fiscal year 2024-25. Please present your report.
Okay, so the Cannon Beach Budget Committee met in 2 sessions during May. The final session was actually my first day of work here. Next phase, this is This is the next phase of the budget process for the city council to undergo the public hearing and adopt the budget. There are some items that you can do. You could reduce the tax amount. The council could reduce expenditures with a corresponding reduction of resources, or you could increase expenditures, but not more than 5,000 or 10% of the total expenditures of the fund. Changes beyond the scope of the above parameters require another public notice and subsequent public hearing. My actual recommendation at that point in time would be to pass this budget, and we would do a supplemental budget in July. That would be. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Is there any member of the public wishing to comment on the approved budget for fiscal year 2024-25? We do have someone on Zoom.
I don't.
If you'd like to make public comment on Zoom, please raise your hand. Again, if there's anyone on Zoom that would like to make public comment, please raise your hand. Okay, thank you. If there's no further discussion, I will close the public hearing at this time. Anybody have any questions?
I'd just like to thank, in particular, Sharon Clyde for suggesting the increase in the, please help me with the name.
Community grants.
Grants. Thank you very much. My apologies. It seemed very successful this year.
That was great.
And I would like to thank the entire budget committee. Thought we had some good discussions.
Absolutely.
And thank you to Ron and to Lori for her work on the budget and for you making it through the first day.
And I'm prepared to vote to approve this, but I think, we had the conversation regarding contingencies and departments, and I think that was a good conversation to have. And I hope that we consider that in the future. I don't think we want to necessarily pad departmental budgets or encourage spending, and that money may be better suited to the general fund rather than being carried over into departmental carryovers from year to year. So I don't know, some of the departments, it seems more appropriate, and some it doesn't seem necessary. So
Like what, for example?
I don't remember some of the examples where there's not a lot of variation. We pretty much know what our expenses are going to be, and we're still carrying a 15% contingency.
Can you give me an example of it?
I didn't make a note of them here.
Okay, well,
They still have to be voted on by the council if it's taken out of contingency.
Yeah,
So council still gets oversight of it.
Right.
it does. It just becomes part of a departmental budget, which again, I'm not sure is a great thing to put. But I understand contingencies. Don't think we want to pad them too much to encourage spending. And we had a conversation about the general fund reserves where we'd like to have them more like $5 million. So it seems like there's a little bit of a balance there.
So that's something we need to be watching.
well, without an example, I can't
Well-
even have a discussion or think
I
about it.
don't
If I'm,
agree with that at all. I'm happy to have this discussion. And what I think will become somewhat obvious in the next budget cycle is that carryover will show. And as to your point, Gary, those funds that have a very predictable amount to them, there's going to be that carryover. Am I missing something?
Yeah, but maybe you have the answer.
so the main issue with regards to this is, yes, when you actually looking at what your fund balances or potential carryovers would really be the combined contingencies and reserve balances, right? That's kind of what, because you don't expect to use contingency and then whatever your reserve balance. The issue is if we put money into an unappropriated ending fund balance, we cannot spend that money at all until the following budget cycle. So the one thing that the contingency does allow you is it gives you some flexibility in just in case. And then again, it would have to come before the council in a public meeting to be able to be used. But if it does just get straight put into the reserves, it cannot be used in that given year at all. So that's my.
Maybe you have an answer to Lisa's question about some of those departments where we know our costs are pretty set and maybe the contingencies are less appropriate.
I haven't delved that much into it where I would look at it. I mean, again, it is a relatively conservative policy, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So when you're building the budget, sometimes it is just easier to say, this is where we want the contingencies at. And I don't know how much detail went into where we needed to balance it a little bit. So we can do that as we go, and maybe there are areas, but again, I think that my only recommendation is if you move off the contingency, then again, that money essentially will go into unappropriated and fund balance, which then you cannot touch it all until the following.
You'd have to take some kind of action.
Yeah, so because the unappropriated, just that's it. Once it goes in unappropriate, that's it. So outside of a natural disaster.
I'm missing something here, obviously, because I can't see the downside of a contingency. So could you explain to me what the downside is?
They, from a, it's hard. Is there a downside? I don't know if there's a downside. What I think people are trying to make the argument in is that, either you put it into reserve and show what the reserves are, or you should put those funds in the program. I think that's what they're trying to get at. But I don't see necessarily a downfall on the contingency amounts. Again, it's conservative. But again, I don't know if there's downfall is the wrong word. I don't know if that's the right.
Because I think as far as I know, for at least when I've been aware for the last 10 years, we've always been fairly conservative in how we budget. And I think that's been very successful for us. So I don't see why we would want to change that.
I'm getting even more conservative. And this year we got even more.
Yes. And that's the balance you have to go to. Where is it? Are we putting those funds into program, which we may have to cut some point? Or are we putting it into a contingency where we have the just in case? We're being very protective of the assets. One of the things about the contingency in your ending funds and having very strong fund balance policies is that it buys you time, right? In the case of an emergency or something happens, COVID, 2008 type event, then what it gives you enough time that you're not having to make drastic cuts, right? You'll have to cut, but at least hopefully it will be more of a glide path. And so you're not having to, be devastating to program when something happens. So that's the other argument for kind of stuff. So.
Well, and I think we have, for the next year or two at least, we have pretty uncertain times ahead of us in terms of projects that we're doing. And I just really think we need to have the money there.
I agree with it. In some departments.
I think but you just don't know. I mean, we're just so uncertain right now that I think.
But again, I think that's something we'll watch carefully and see if there are departments that don't need to be this.
I could see some of the concerns. Lisa can't, but I could see some of the concerns that people were expressing.
Oh, one person.
Public comment. We had a member of the budget committee. So.
Yeah.
There are, financial expertise that had some concerns, and I considered it, and I think that it's worth talking about. Again, I don't want to throw a wrench in this budget, and I'm all for being conservative, which is how conservative do we need to be? If you put money in a budget, As you know, when you put money in a budget, it often gets spent. And so, That's one of the things
That
you're
money
saying.
can't be spent without coming to you.
right,
Not,
Has to be a public meeting.
it's
I understand that,
Department
but
head's discretion.
Historically, have we been spending our contingencies, using them up? Just because they're there? I didn't think so.
We did use it this year. The general fund, we used the
Yes.
contingency in the current year, but that was,
I believe we use some in public works which is probably one of those areas that we really need it.
Mhm.
And some of those areas that we don't. So you're kind of making my case that, no, we haven't used contingencies.
Well, I don't know where we don't need
What
it.
we're doing is increasing them.
You never know what's gonna happen, so you never know if you're gonna need it or not. I
20% in then,
I see a,
25% in then.
Oh, Gary.
I mean,
Part of it, from my standpoint, is you have a contingency, say of 15%. And something does happen in that department, it's possible for the council to go ahead to agree to, and to go ahead and move that money. If you have a smaller amount and you're not able to cover it, then you might have to go to the general fund contingency or someplace else. But it wouldn't necessarily be funding from that particular department. And it's just a more conservative way to budget.
Yep, I get that. Just think it was a good conversation. Shouldn't just brush it off. Can't be too conservative. I don't think that's true. Oh,
Any other discussion?
I move to approve resolution number 2414 for the purpose of adopting the 2024-2025 budget as approved, submitted and acted upon by the Budget Committee of the City of Cannon Beach, and then amended by the City Council, making appropriations and levying taxes for municipal purposes of the City of Cannon Beach for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025.
Second,
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Kerr,
yes,
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Counselor President McCarthy,
yes,
Counselor Hayes,
yes.
Yes. Okay, thanks to, again, everyone involved. And now we will move to a discussion item. And guess who's?
But wait, there's more.
See you again.
That's all right. All right, before you is the financial report, covering the third quarter, through March of 2024. Just some of the highlights, and really open it up if you have any questions. Looking at the overall cash balances, we're about $2 million higher than we were during the same time period last year. The fund balance in the general fund is down, and that is mostly due to the police department and city hall design projects. All other funds overall are in very positive, are mostly positive. General fund revenues are currently trending above normal. On the general fund expenditures, one part I want to talk a little bit about is the one we're going to have we have the budget issue, which you just corrected here a moment ago. Another item we have is the Haystack Rock program. This year currently we'll end the year, we're projecting we'll end the year slightly over budget by about 14 grand. However, the Friends of Haystack Rock are giving us 15,500 to help offset that. Community development is trending a little higher, but should finish the year basically under budget. And then really the last piece I want to highlight is the transient room tax. Is in Q3 was trending 21% above prior year, after just a small year-to-year difference in the prior quarter of 0.4%. So overall, that is tracking above projections. So
What page reflects that?
that is on Don't know the page number. It is 4 pages in from the last page.
These numbers are,
Page number at the top, page number 7 of the report, of the finance report.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
203, 204 of ours.
And so your number as far as it trending up is without the Q4.
Without the Q4, correct. So it just, right, currently, Q1 was up almost 3.5%, then Q2 was about 0.4, and we're looking at 21.19% in Q3. So
For the previous quarters.
correct. So if projections come in somewhere between the 22, 23 type year, we will still be projecting above, so.
okay, so am I reading this wrong, on that page? It looks like the 2024 budget and the 2024 actual, you've got minus 944,000. You expect to make that up?
Yes, we expect that to make that up in the Q4. The budget is static and we don't adjust it. So yes, so we believe that if we're somewhere even in where we have been for the last 4 years or what we originally budgeted, that would be in Q4. If we're on there, then we will be tracking about 500,000 above
Okay.
what we actually budgeted.
I had also a question about the storm drain fund. On your first page, you talk about storm drain fund is 45.6 of the budgeted amount. It should be what, about 75%?
Roughly 75. So I'm wondering if actually my math was wrong on that one, and I apologize. Because if you look at the number, the prior year to date, they were 284, or it was 284 over this time period. And last year was 208. So I think I may have done my math wrong on that one.
Something that didn't quite
Yeah,
add up. Being,
that is correct.
yeah.
But again, overall positive, and right currently, yes, because my calculation on the percentage must be, was wrong. Because currently year-to-date revenues exceed year-to-date expenses by over 63,000.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I was.
yeah, that's a good catch.
I could probably do this math somewhere, but coming back to the transient room tax, and if it does come in that roughly $500,000 higher, if we meet the Q4 budget, we have a couple of accounts where a couple of departments where we just give the entire balance of 1%. That's can't remember if we call it the PRT fund and the TAF fund. So both of those would be increasing, and that's where I'm not sure what the math would be on that. They've been increasing pretty significantly year to year, especially compounding. So obviously, we're going to continue to see increases going to those. And I noticed the TAF fund, it does show ending fund balance of 1.2 million. But is that after the current allocations?
Than before,
Yeah, that,
just made.
That's before the allocations of about $250,000 that were just made. And then that also does not include the money for the Midtown restrooms that we were funding completely out of there. Is that true?
I don't think we've taken any money out for that. We have a
Yeah.
contract.
Okay, but
that's what it's in October.
reflected in that. That knocks it down considerabely.
Yeah. We're $500,000.
Or to the $500,000 range.
And this is my first time presenting this and I'm just, are you comfortable with this format? Is there any changes? You don't have to tell me now, but if you feel that there is something else you would like to see or you're not getting value from, if you'd be kind enough to email me and I'd be happy to incorporate that into the actual report.
You know, you'll hear from us.
So yes, if you'd like to see some other breakdowns or anything like that, I'd be happy to adjust that.
Thanks.
Mhm.
Questions or comments? Again, if you guys see differently, make sure that you communicate that. Okay, so now we're down to a consideration of our minutes of our May meetings. We only have 5 of them. We were happy. Ready? Have any questions? Or additions or revisions or?
Mm. Don't.
I'll move to approve the minutes of the May 7th council meeting, May 14th council work session, special meeting, May 22nd council work session with CETA and CBE, and May 23rd council work session, the Haystack Hill discussion, and May 29th council work session code rewrite hearing session.
There's a second?
Second,
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Ogilvy,
Yes.
Council President McCarthy,
Yeah.
Counselor Hayes.
Yes.
Counselor Kerr.
yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes. Okay, then we're ready for good of the order. Who would like to go for that?
Didn't have anything. Well, I did ask last time, Bruce, about, you know, what kind of, I can't remember from the new project, the new hotel project that's going on.
Oh, yes, you did. You asked for permit fees. I'll get that for you.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I asked, I wanted to know
Oh,
what
yeah, that's
fees
right,
for
that's right,
Hallmark.
that's right.
Or what, is it Hallmark? Is that what
Yeah,
they're
no,
called?
it's surf-
Yeah, surf
surf
stands. I just wanted to know what kind of fees we've gotten from them or what is projected for fees for that from them.
And I apologize for not getting it to you.
Yes, I think it's a multi-million-dollar project, isn't it? Like
Okay.
multi-million?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Other items for good of the order? We do have a trail cleaning this Saturday. We missed a week because of Sandcastle Day. We're gonna meet at 6th and Hemlock from 10 till noon this coming Saturday. Anything else? You like to make any closing comments? Off we go. Jason usually has a few things to say.
Well, that's Jason.
Well, time for dinner then.
No, we do. Gary pointed out that now we have time for dinner.
I'm not sure we want to split the burrito though.
Yeah.
It's still cooking in the microwave.
Okay,